They left, Shawk said. They did, Wintermoon agreed. As the last of the Council's ships disappeared over the horizon, a lifetime's worth of tension ebbed out of Shawk. Her legs gave out and she fell back onto a nearby tree root, content to lie limply looking up at the jungle canopy. After speaking with Vogroth Nakira, the Nar and his retinue turned back to the crowd to resume their recruitment. Shawk could almost feel the frustration rising from the warriors as they assessed the combat prowess of the city's hopefuls. She wouldn't have been surprised if someone claimed that half of Khorstarafi had shown up, but the biggest surprise was that the council's representatives didn't approach her party at all. By the time the council's representatives were done, about 20,000 of the largest, healthiest citizens boarded the ships and departed on their journey upriver. Shawk headed straight back to her clan hold to discuss what they had seen and heard once the disappointed remainder started to dissipate. That messenger said no exceptions, Shawk said, so I thought they would try to grab some of us for sure. It's good to know people, Master Leeds said. That being said, there were probably other reasons for it. Such as? Well, you mentioned that they weren't happy about the quality of the people trying to join, the guildmaster said. They might have come in like a guy looking to buy pieces of artwork, but they left like a guy who bought a load of grain. I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means. It means that they figured that the quality of available soldiers in the city wasn't going to get much better than what they saw, Master Leeds said, so they just picked as quickly as they could to save time. Since your clan is so new it isn't even a clan yet, they must have figured it'd be more of the same. Vogroth Nakira may have been doing us a favor, as well, Shawk's father said. Rather than disrupt our work, he's hoping that allowing us to grow as a warrior clan will net him allies in the future. From the top of the wide stairs to her court, Shawk looked out over the activity of her reborn clan. Both Master Leeds and her father voiced valid points. So they expect us to provide better warriors than what the city normally would in the future, Shawk said. I guess that makes sense as an idea, but aren't we being invaded right now? He did say that we're being invaded, her father said, but did he say that our armies are lost? No. Then the warrior clans will continue to fight. Everyone will fight. Rolengork is our one and only home. It may take generations for the Commonwealth to make it to Khorstarafi, assuming that we don't turn things around before then. So he's buying us time under that reasoning, Shawk murmured. They are sending the citizens to war, too. Shawk snapped her mouth, leaving the last, miserable, thought unspoken. There wasn't any reason why the council wouldn't be aware of the impending famine. Every person that they sent to fight not only helped slow down the Orgulan advance, but eventually became one less mouth to feed. In a morbid way, the invasion was a fortuitous event. How should we proceed, Inksock? Elder Potley asked. We already figured out what we're doing, right? Shawk replied, Oh, I thought of a few more things. First, we should include the tribes on the city's northern borders in this fodder exchange. The aforementioned tribes were situated on the banks of the Rolengork, so they were undoubtedly being affected by the flooding. That makes sense, Master Leeds nodded. We won't have to secure additional ships for that, either. Speaking of which, are we clear to secure more vessels for the river trade? What about that idea we discussed the other day? Itzaul asked. Idea? Ah, you're right. We should just do that instead. It's a long-term project, though. What are you talking about? Shawk asked. We were bouncing around the idea of building a shipyard on our lake, Master Leeds said. The flooding in the basins probably destroyed most of the shipyards in Rolengork, so a good paddle boat is going to be harder and harder to come across. Don't even get me started on big maintenance jobs. Our dam will protect us from the flooding, but getting ships out of the new shipyard would involve building a lock. What's that? Basically, it's a spot on the river where we can control the water level to allow ships to pass sections of a river with large differences in elevation. It's like filling or emptying a container depending on how high you want the water level inside to be, then you open up the side you want to come out of when you reach the same water level. Hey. Shawk gazed at the guildmaster in wonderment, you know so many things. I'm a master of the Merchant Guild. Good infrastructure is essential for strong trade. Of course, I don't know how to build what we're talking about, but our tradesman will. Everything that he spoke of may as well have been magic to her. As long as it worked, however, she didn't really care. What else did you wish to add, Inksock? Elder Potley asked. This is sort of related to the first thing, Shawk said, but we should reach out to our neighbors. So many people being taken away by the clans helps a little, but so long as the flooding continues, so will the problems that it brings. What would be the goal of this outreach? Her father asked. Stability, Shawk said. Instead of trying to guard against our neighbors from every direction, we should become friends with them. Eventually, she wanted to involve the entire city, but she wanted to know if her ideas would work first. Buffer territories, huh? Master Leeds nodded slowly, a prudent move. What's a buffer territory? Shawk asked. Putting other people between yourself and potential threats, Wintermoon supplied. That way, they get hurt instead of you. Eh? Shawk blinked. That's not what I meant. Well, it might become that way if something bad happens, but I just want to keep everyone from suffering. Really, I do. Wintermoon answered her protests with silence. Shawk tearfully looked up at her until Master Leeds cleared his throat. How things are arranged is up to you, he said. Usually, there is some degree of mutual benefit to such an arrangement. For instance, many tribes in Rolengork rely on the local warrior clan for security and offer some form of tribute in exchange, usually food. Since it's a familiar concept in your culture, you could start from there and adjust things to your liking. I see, Shawk said. It doesn't sound so bad when you put it that way, but we don't have any warriors to send right now. That may be the traditional approach, the guildmaster said, but we're not bound to it. What's important for now is that we establish ties with the neighbors, and we're doing that with trade. The rest can come when trouble does. I'd rather it didn't, Shawk said. Trouble, I mean. The guildmaster showed his teeth. No one wants trouble to come knocking, of course. From what I've seen of Rolengork on the way here, however, the warrior clans still provide security in peacetime. Rather than you imposing yourself on the tribes may demand your protection instead. That's just as bad, Shawk said. I just told you we don't have warriors to spare. A chuckle rippled around her court. She didn't think it was very funny. They weren't in any position to be relied upon, but not being able to help made her feel terrible nonetheless. Her court finished making arrangements, and it took a day for her people to prepare for their visit to the northern tribes. Jute sacks filled with blood antlers were loaded onto a litter along with a variety of other goods that the merchants figured would capture the interest of their prospective trading partners. Are you ready for this, Kaimali? Shawk asked. Doesn't matter if I'm ready or not, yeah? Kaimali replied, just gotta do it. It'll be just like my work before. Just make sure you keep this work honest, Shawk told him. Our clan's reputation is at stake. In addition to being her promoter at the fighting pits, Kaimali did countless jobs on the side. It was probably better to say that being her promoter was just one of those side jobs. She had heard all sorts of things about his other work from gossip and rumors, but Kaimali only shared stories that he thought would impress her. When the humans arrived in the clan hold and set themselves up, Kaimali had unsurprisingly taken an interest in working for the Merchant Guild. Shawk wasn't sure whether he should be considered a merchant apprentice or some sort of agent for the guild itself. Either way, the Merchant Guild employed both, managing them from the safety of their ships as they went from port to port. There wasn't a ship to hide in this time, however, so they simply dispatched their beastman agents from the clan hold. I get it, Kaimali's tail waved back and forth in an expression of anticipation. We are doing big things now. Say, do you think we can take over the city like you said? Well, it's not like anyone's there to stop us, Shawk said. We just have to make sure we do things right so trouble doesn't come around to catch our tails. What about those packs that I mentioned? Wintermoon said from the trail behind them. Won't they become tribes and clans, too? I don't know about that, Shawk said. Even if they did, we could still become friends. If everyone's on the same side, that means the city belongs to us, right? You and I have very different takes on taking over, Wintermoon said. And I wonder if becoming friends will be as simple as you imply. Why wouldn't it? Shawk looked over her shoulder at Wintermoon. Everyone in the city coexisted before. I suppose we're about to find out, Wintermoon said. Shawk's whiskers picked up a low growl coming from ahead of them. She turned her attention forward, finding Five now standing at the crest of the low ridge that marked the city limits. Stop right there. A female at their lead roared. No one enters Natamal's territory uninvited. Shork's party stopped. She poked Kaimali. What? He jumped. Time to go, she said. Me? But there are only 12 now, Wintermoon said. You can take them. 12? Wintermoon was a mighty hunter, so she must have detected more Na lying in ambush. A huge paw shoved Kaimali forward, sending him stumbling in front of the Na. They seemed none too pleased about Wintermoon's proclamation. Kaimali seemed to be trying to divide his attention between all of him, his ears flattened against his head as his tail curled timidly between his legs. Gee, good afternoon, he said. With your permission, we would like to enter Natamal territory. The lead Na's lips pulled back in a snarl. She stalked forward to tower over Kaimali in a threatening display. Are you deaf? We aren't allowing any damn vagrants from the city onto our land. Vagrants? Kaimali's tail uncurled and curled upwards curiously. You seem to be mistaken. I am Kaimali, a merchant from Osalopakan. Never heard of them. Despite the Na's display of disinterest, the heavy air grew less oppressive. Kaimali put on a hurt expression. You've shared a border with us all this time, he said mournfully. How could you say such a thing? Our most benevolent clan lord, Inksok Osalopakan, sent us to trade equipment and fodder out of a concern for your well-being. Shork cringed at Kaimali's performance. He always played her up when negotiating with the fighting pit managers, but being promoted as a lord felt 10 times more embarrassing. The Na standing in front of Kaimali sent a confused look over her shoulder. Her companions seemed similarly befuddled. Wait, one of the Na standing on the ridge said. You mentioned fodder. I've never heard of a merchant trading fodder before. Ah, Kaimali's ears came back up, his tail lifted into the air. Would you like to take a look? Osalopakan has recently learned how to cultivate a new crop for our nug herds. It's been so successful that we have a surplus. One that we are willing to trade with our good neighbors in these troubled times. Even when he tells the truth, he sounds dishonest. Fine. Let's take a look at this new fodder. Maybe that was just her opinion. That, or the Na were too desperate to care. Kaimali called for a bag of blood antlers to be brought forward. Shork looked on nervously as the Na inspected their produce. They are red, one of the Na said. Are you sure this stuff isn't dangerous? Well, it's true that we beastmen can't eat it, Kaimali replied, but Danug love the stuff. We've been feeding it to them for months now and their meat tastes no different than before, or maybe it's better? They've been feeding on it for much longer. Elder Potley came forward. And you are? Potley, a mystic and an elder of Osalopakan. I've been personally overseeing the cultivation of blood antlers as an alternative food source for our herds. The word of an elder carried far more weight than that of a merchant, and the border sentries, they were actually a bunch of ranchers tending to a herd nearby, bid them to follow. It was apparent even to Shork how overgrazing had affected the undergrowth. Everywhere she looked, the terrain was devoid of its usual ferns, vines, and bushes. This is terrible, Elder Potley said. We've been trying to spread things out, one of the ranchers said, but the nug only lost weight as a result. Our elders have all agreed that we should cull the herds before our losses get even worse. Shork felt a pang of sympathy. Nug ranching was a process where one led the animals through a cycle between seasonal feeding grounds, allowing them to gradually mature and put on weight, in other words, food for the tribes and the people of the cities. Letting the animals lose weight at any point meant losing all of the progress that they had made and similarly lowering the quantity of food that could be gained by butchering an animal. The only way to get it back was to spend months grazing the animals until they regained it. If you don't mind, one of the ranchers asked, we'd like to put your fodder to the test. Of course, Kaimali said. Be our guest. They gave the ranchers a bag of blood antlers and watched as they took it over to a brook where a group of nug were trying to get bits of moss off of the damp rocks. The ranchers spread the fungi along the riverbank and waited to see what would happen. It wasn't long until the nearest magical beast noticed the bright red morsels and signaled its findings to the rest of the herd. Nothing was left after a few minutes. It looks like they know what it is, one of the ranchers said. They do, Elder Potley said. We just haven't noticed them eating it until recently. Blood antlers are native to this area and the nug eat it as soon as they find some. How much fodder do you have? We're going to need a lot of it so long as this flooding continues. That's something we should speak with your elders about, Kaimali said. Inksok has much to discuss with them, besides. Will your lord be coming personally? She's already here, Kaimali gestured to Shawk. Hi, Shawk said. She shifted slightly as the group of Na scrutinized her. In the end, none of them voiced whatever it was that they thought. One of the ranchers handed his pack to another. I am Gara, he said. The main village is a day's walk from here. I will lead you there. Her party picked up their cargo litters and followed Gara north along the stream. They occasionally came across other groups of ranchers with their modest herds, and none of them seemed to be in a much better situation than the others. Everyone is on edge, Shawk noted. Is it only because of the lack of grazing, or has something else happened? Half of our land is underwater, Gara replied. The remaining villages are filled to bursting. To make it worse, people from the city have been trespassing on our lands. Not our people, I hope, Shawk said. If your people are well fed, then I doubt it. We've been supplying the city with meat for as long as anyone can remember. Unfortunately, it appears that this fact has turned our herds into a target for hungry city folk. This has happened on occasion in the past, but it is becoming more frequent as the days pass. We're not ready for this. The scope of the city's problems threatened to overwhelm her once again. It felt like her clan was too far behind to address them, and the situation only got further ahead of them as time passed. Just to be clear, Kamali said, Natamal isn't under any of the warrior clans, right? Our tribe has always been affiliated with the city, Gara told them, and the city is not ruled by any one clan. Or any clans, for that matter. Tell me, how is it that you have formed one? Is it because of the troubling times that we find ourselves in? Believe it or not, Elder Potley said, Inksok has always had the makings of a lord. Long after Osalopakan and its lands were absorbed by Khorstarifikaralwa and the members of our tribe transformed into its citizens, Inksok came into the world and did what she could to improve our lot. We have naturally come to look to her for leadership, and I suspect it would have happened even if these troubling times hadn't come. Shawk wished they would stop talking about her like that. There was already enough to deal with without adding their expectations on top of everything. Before noon the next day, they arrived at the main village of Natamal. It had a ramshackle appearance, making it look like a dense collection of hastily constructed hovels. Did something happen to the village? Shawk asked. I don't see anything that looks permanent. What was the main village is now underwater, Gara said. It used to be our port on the river. With the flood waters still rising, we've had to move once every few days. She should have realized that. Every tribe had their main settlement on a navigable river for trade if it was possible. Normally, most of the food shipments from Natamal would come by water, not by land. Gara brought them straight to the village's central fire before going to retrieve the village elders. Among them was a chief who was probably thrice Shawk's age. He didn't have the air of a warrior, but, as a Na, he was still pretty huge. The elders arranged themselves in a line behind their chief as he stepped up to speak. Welcome, Inksok, he said. I am Agra, chieftain of Natamal. Gara claims that you have an important proposal for us. Eh? Wasn't Kaimali supposed to do the talking? It made sense that she would have to, given how things had played out, but she wasn't sure what she should say. Yes, that's right, Shawk replied. We have some extra fodder to sell, plus a few other things. Gara said as much, Agra said. Our mystics would inspect this fodder before we proceed with any negotiations. Wait a minute, these guys have experience exporting nug. Doesn't that mean I'm at a disadvantage here? Shawk sent a pointed look at Kaimali. He misinterpreted her intent, however, and called for a bag of blood antlers to be brought forward. This is Kaimali, Shawk still tried to make the best of it. He's supposed to represent Osalopakan in these trade negotiations. The chief and his elders were more interested in the blood antlers than Kaimali. When they returned to speak, they addressed Shawk despite her attempts to direct them to Kaimali. Our mystics say that your fodder is safe for our herds, Chief Agra said. How much do you have and what do you want for it? What we had in mind is more complicated than a simple trade, Shawk said. Explain. Shawk took a deep breath, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. This flooding is creating long-term issues, Shawk said. Ones that cannot simply be fixed by trading for some fodder. Across Rolengork, the tribes are culling their herds so that at least a few of their animals may survive. We were going to do that ourselves, Chief Agra said. The lands are being stripped bare to no good end. which will cause a food shortage. One that will last for years to come even if the flooding recedes in a month.
That much, we understand, the Na chief grated. We did not arrive at the decision easily.
Do your words mean that you do not have enough fodder to save our herds from being culled?
What I meant is that I intend to save as many people as I can, Shulk replied. To do that, we must do things that have never before been done in Rolangork.
I'm listening.
First of all, Shulk said, it's only fair that we cover what part Natamal will play in all of this and how it will secure the well-being of its people. For now, we must relieve the strain on your land by not only exporting food to your tribe, but also importing nug from it. Once the trade route between Natamal and Osalopakan is established and made reliable, we can export enough food for Natamal to breed its nug population back to its former numbers.
Breed them back? Chief Agraire said, would we not take back the animals that were transferred to your lands?
No. We're buying them to increase our own herds.
According to Elder Potley here, our methods of blood antler cultivation will allow 10 times the number of nug to be fed on the same amount of land. Behind the chief, the tribal elders exchanged looks and low discussion broke out among the bystanders listening to their meeting.
And you want us to do that? The chief asked.
Raise 10 times the number of nug as before?
No, Shulk answered.
Elder Potley says that
would be bad for the land. Maybe twice the number is fine.
You should also know that providing fodder will alter the growth of your herds, Elder Potley added. Since they won't need to move from pasture to pasture, the energy saved will go towards growth. Adult nug in Osalopakan give half again as much meat as they did when we practiced the traditional ways of ranching. You are not giving us much room to argue here. Chief Agraire crossed his arms.
What's the catch? I'm not sure that there is one, Shulk replied.
As I said, I want to save as many people from the coming famine as I can. If you want to know what you need to do, the first is that you should move your main village to a place near the border with Osalopakan so we can trade with you more easily. It will also make it easier for you to distribute the fodder to your ranchers and keep your people safe from the floodwaters. The second thing I need you to do is export your excess meat to the city as you always have. It still sounds like this arrangement has nothing but advantages for us. Well, the flooding is affecting everyone. By exclusively providing food to the city, you may get attacked by hungry tribes and clans from the river instead. If you give us a bit of time, we can help with that as well. Chief Agraire turned to discuss her proposal with his elders.
It didn't take them long to render a response. Very well, the chief said. It seems that you intended to renew the ancient accord, and so shall it be.
The ancient accord? Shulk furrowed her brow. What's that?
The chief seemed amused at her question.
Didn't you know? Long before Khorstarafi grew to its current size, Natamal was a tributary of Osalopakan. We're stuck between you and the river, after all.
Oh, Shulk said.
I guess that makes sense. Your presence has grown considerably from when I first met you. Really? Shulk placed a paw over her maw in embarrassment. I guess all of that studying paid off. Somehow, I just knew the right thing to say when the time came.
That's how it usually is, Wintermoon said,
but most people I know put far too much thought into it.
Shulk wasn't sure what that meant, but she took Wintermoon's words to heart and didn't put too much thought into it.
A day after their visit to Natamal, Shulk and her party strolled through the familiar undergrowth of Osalopakan on their way back to her clanhold. Overall, the talks with the neighboring tribe had gone well, far better than she could have ever hoped. Where were you, by the way? Shulk asked. I don't think I saw you at all while we were with them. Were you trying to avoid attention, or did some old ruin catch your attention on the way? I was standing behind you most of the time. Shulk felt her fur rise in reaction to Wintermoon's response. She knew that her guest bore her no ill will, but she couldn't help but succumb to the sense of dread that came with the idea that a hopelessly powerful predator had been stalking her unseen. In that case, Shulk tried to shake off the feeling. What do you think of what Natamal mentioned?
About what?
The ancient accord thing. You're studying the history of Rolangork, right?
Among other things. As you mentioned, it made sense that the local warrior clan counted the tribes around it as tributaries in the past. That's how it tends to work.
And we should put that history to work for us, Kaimali said. If the other tribes nearby remember that we once ruled here, it will make it much easier to go ahead with our plans.
Just look how smoothly things went with Natamal.
I don't know.
Shawk said, "We may have been strong enough to act as a warrior clan in the past, but not right now. It's obvious that they're seeking protection with how bad things are getting." "Or maybe they capitulated out of fear," Winter Moon said.
"Huh?"
Shawk looked up at Winter Moon. "What are you talking about? I didn't threaten them in the slightest." "You threatened them by existing. Natamal doesn't stand a chance against a warrior clan. It was either trade and prosper or refuse and suffer. The candy and the whip, as they say.
Or is that carrot and stick? Fish and claw?"
"But we're nothing like a warrior clan yet," Shawk protested. "And we're certainly in no position to threaten people. Not that I want to." "They don't know that. All they had were their own preconceptions. Now that you've subjugated them, those preconceptions have become expectations." "Uck." The last thing she needed was another set of expectations to shoulder. What would happen if Natamal found out that her clan wasn't strong at all? "I still think it's a good idea," Kaimali said. "The warrior clans might not consider us as one of their equals, but we are still far stronger than any single pastoral tribe, if only by numbers alone. We have the opportunity to seize the entire area before anyone realizes that we aren't as strong as they think, and by then our numbers and tribal ties will make us too strong for anyone else to deny." Shawk knew where he was coming from and that his suggestion had a good chance of working, but she still didn't like the idea. They would be promising something that they didn't have the means to deliver, and people would be relying on those promises. "We should discuss it with the others when we get back," she said. "I'm so hungry that I can't think properly." They arrived at the clan hold just before sunset and Shawk went straight home to rest before dinner. Her father greeted her as she entered. "Welcome back, Inksock." He rose and went to fetch a gourd of water. "How did it go?" "They agreed to our proposal," Shawk replied. "But it felt too easy." "Actually, do you know anything about our clan's history? Beyond what you've already shared with me, I mean?" Her father came over to place the gourd of water below the stone alcove where she usually slept. "I'm afraid not," he wiped his paws on a bit of cloth. "If I learned anything more from the previous generations, I've long forgotten it. Maybe Winter Moon can help you with that? She's been studying the ruins of the clan hold and the meaning of the carvings upon them." "I've asked," Shawk said. "Mitra was studying them, too. She said that the carvings weren't history at all." "So they're just decorations?" "No. I'm not sure I understood what she was talking about, but they're part of a magical enchantment that included every building on top of the clan hold. They tried to activate the magic, but it's broken just like the old dam." "So the entire place was magical," Itzley spoke in mournful tones as he stared at the floor. "I can only wonder how much was stolen from us by the demon gods. The way that our civilization and history were destroyed seems like an incomprehensible act of spite." Shawk didn't know how to respond, but her father's words stoked the sense of anger lit deep within her when Soraka and his party made her aware of the past that they had uncovered. It was a frustratingly futile sort of anger, however. The demon gods were little more than an event in the distant past and the people of the present could do nothing about it. What's done was done, to their great sorrow. A couple of hours later, Shawk awoke to the smell of baked fish. The tantalizing aroma drew her out into the court, where she found a feast laid out for the evening's meeting. Master Leeds was directing a mix of humans and beastmen who were running around performing some indecipherable dance as they moved things around the courtyard. "What's all this for?" Shawk asked. "A celebration, of course." Master Leeds' grin glistened in the torchlight. "I heard that we successfully negotiated an agreement with Natamal. But this is so extravagant. The city is still on its way to starvation." In addition to several types of fish from the lake, there was nug, monkey, and wildfowl in great quantities. The humans had their own food prepared, as well. "Nonsense," Master Leeds said. "Success is to be celebrated. We've taken a big step towards solving our problems, haven't we? Also, this isn't just for the people who secured success, it's to show everyone we're making progress and that good work is rewarded." She heard that the warrior clans would feast after great victories, but great victories also meant that there was a lot of food lying around. Rather than argue with the guildmaster, the food was already prepared anyway. She went to her seat and waited for the rest of the gathering to arrive. It was the usual collection of elders and people from the merchant guild, plus a bunch of humans that Shawk could only assume were present for the guildmaster's celebration. Winter Moon and her companions were present, as well.
A human woman came to serve her a platter of baked fish. Half of it had been nibbled away before the Shawk felt that there were enough people to begin the meeting.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Natamal has agreed to our proposal, but the proposal is more than we expected. Kaimali filled us in on the details, Master Lead said. Quite frankly, it's so open-ended that we weren't sure how to proceed when we heard it. Does that mean we have a problem? Shawk asked. No, it's just that the Merchant Guild is accustomed to handling trade contracts, futures and such. I won't bore everyone with the details, but it's a reminder of how much work is still ahead of us when it comes to bringing commerce up to the Merchant Guild standards.
What will you do?
Write contracts,
Master Leeds shrugged. Ones that can be understood by the locals.
Merchants in Rolengork are functionally peddlers. They go from market to market, trading whatever they have in their inventory. It's actually astonishing that you can do it on such a huge scale without figuring out better ways to trade along the way. How do these contracts work? Shawk asked. Are they anything like the ones you use around the clanhold? With the stone tokens? Conceptually, yes. It's a good thing that we figured it out since the people around here can't read or write. We just have to familiarize Natamal with the new system of contract tokens, which brings us to the first big question. Shawk tensed in her seat, wondering what sort of incomprehensible horror Master Leeds was about to unleash on her. Are we trading with Natamal? The guildmaster asked, or the merchants who work in Natamal? Or do we plan on doing something else entirely?
I didn't know we had to pick, Shawk said.
Does it matter?
It does, Master Leeds bobbed his head.
Whoever controls trade has power over everyone reliant upon it. In this case, trading with Natamal as a tribe will give the tribal leadership power over the ranchers, as they control the supply of fodder for the herds. You can apply this sort of dependency to most things. But the tribal leadership already rules the tribe, Shawk said. How would that change anything? I'm just pointing things out as I see them, the guildmaster said. Maybe you're right and nothing will change. The way power is wielded here isn't as complicated as the Draconic Kingdom. She still wasn't accustomed to dealing with humans, but Master Lead seemed to be holding something back. I'd still like to know what you think our options are, Shawk said. The guildmaster's sense of reservation remained as he spoke. What was the issue? Given the circumstances, he licked his lips. I feel obliged to point out that any solutions that we settle on aren't necessarily ideal for the long term. We're facing a situation that will grow increasingly volatile so long as the food situation continues. In other words, we must assume that people will resort to force out of desperation. Not only does the clanhold require security, but also the entire trade network that we establish.
I understand that, Shawk said. That's why I've placed such a high priority on training and equipping our warriors. Indeed, Master Leeds replied.
Order and security must be maintained, and in the city's situation, only organized groups like your clan are capable of achieving it. Then what's the problem? Master Leeds reached for his cup, emptying it in a long draught. He remained silent for several moments after putting the vessel back on the table. It's an old problem, I suppose, he said. It might be as old as civilization itself. Lords and merchants have always been at odds with one another, be it in a tribe, kingdom, confederation, empire, or whatever else. Government in general is conservative, they're primarily interested in maintaining laws, security, the social order. And it's necessary, especially in times like ours. Yet, at the same time, it has the effect of holding back progress. I don't feel that we aren't progressing, Shawk said. If anything, it's whatever the extreme opposite of that is. The guildmaster chuckled. You are right. But that's for now. Eventually, you'll find a comfortable spot and things go from desperately trying to catch up to maintaining the status quo. It's a regular occurrence in the Draconic Kingdom. After a region gets decimated by raids, the nobles run back in and rush to get everything up and running. Then, once enough time goes by for things to start looking normal again, their focus shifts to trying to maintain it. Of course, that never works. The raiders come back and clean house, starting the cycle anew. I'm not sure how to apply that to Rolengork, Shawk said, but you're worried about what happens after this, right? Assuming we survive. Shawk scanned the faces of the beastmen in the gathering. The thoughts of most were clear enough.
Why was the human worried about trade in the distant future with a devastating famine staring them right in the face? That's right, Master Leeds replied. It may seem like a distant concern, but the seeds of the problem are sown in times like these. Lords and their methods become a necessity, which allows them to build a power base that remains long after the problems that they faced are gone. This, in turn, creates a disadvantageous situation for merchants who wish to see industry and trade continue to grow. Lords establish laws and have a monopoly on the use of violence to enforce their will within their territories. All we merchants can do is work within those constraints, and I firmly believe that this is detrimental to the growth of a country. But what can we do about that now? Shawk asked. As you said, we need the strength of a warrior clan to guard against the worst-case scenario. I've been thinking long and hard about that. I believe that the solution is to emulate the merchant princes of the Cerulean way. The new term bludgeoned Shawk in the head, threatening to knock out all of the other knowledge she was desperately juggling to make sense of the conversation. Who? They are the legendary lords who dominate trade across the Cerulean Way, the inland sea that runs through the northwestern part of the continent. Roland Gork has actually been dealing with one of them for a long time, the Storm Dragon Lord and Emperor of the Great Loot, Rai'=Oxus. Emperor? I thought you said they were princes. It's sort of a separate title, Master Leeds said. I guess they're called that to denote the fact that they're rulers who prioritize commerce rather than the usual things that a lord focuses on. The truth is that they can be anything from prodigious magnates to emperors. More than a few of them are powerful heteromorphs who have ruled for centuries or longer. I see. Does this have anything to do with what you mentioned about turning the Confederation into an empire the other day? Yeah. We should focus on the practical aspects, though. That's what brought the merchant princes of the Cerulean Way to mind in the first place. The way that they operate is by controlling centers of trade. They'll build them in ideal locations if there isn't already one there, or take it over if there is. Hell, they'll even buy them outright if they think it's worth it. Those trading posts are staffed by the prince's people, including security. Merchants working at the trading post encourage the locals to trade with them. What advantage is there to doing that? Shawk asked. It keeps problems small, the guildmaster said. At least on the prince's part. A regular lord would try to take over everything, and that comes with all the related concerns. As a trading post grows, so does its ability to influence the surrounding lands. What happens after that is up to the prince, but a trading post becoming so economically dominant that it becomes the de facto capital of a region and integrates all of the locals isn't unheard of. You've repeatedly expressed your desire to find a peaceful solution to the city's problems, and this is the best way I can think of. The trading posts did sound like a tidy solution to many of their challenges. Shawk had recommended that Natamal move their main village to the border for many of the same reasons. Little did she realize that someone had built empires doing the same thing. I can see how this could work, she said, but what are the downsides? The main one is that they're small and isolated at the beginning, Master Leeds said. Usually, they're separated from home by seas or vast stretches of land, and help is weeks or even months away. This isn't a major issue for us since we're focusing on the city and the area around it. We're also not an unwelcome presence. People will be more than happy to have a source of food or fodder nearby. All we have to do is set up a market with good security and some tents for the people working there. If the post is successful and there's no sign of hostility from the locals, then we can build it up into something more permanent. Shawk looked over at the clan elders. What does everyone think? She asked. Isn't this too ambitious? Her father said, we were trying to figure out how to get food at the beginning of the week. Suddenly, Master Leeds is encouraging us to build an empire. Not precisely, the guildmaster replied. I merely put forward what I believe to be the most effective way to achieving Sock's goals. It just happens to be so effective that it has given rise to great trade empires. I won't mince words with anyone here. Roland Gork is in a bad situation. Its warriors are fighting the undead that have invaded the Draconic Kingdom, and now the Yorgulan Commonwealth is invading on the opposite end. To top it all off, this off-season flooding is about to starve millions to death. You say that this plan is ambitious, but any plan to save Roland Gork must be ambitious. I must wonder about your motives, Winter Moon said. Until recently, many of the clans of Roland Gork were your enemy. No, your predators. From what I know about humans, the latter is worse. Predators are not considered people, but a threat that must be put down.
Why are you so invested in the development of Osalopakan? Low murmurs rose in the wake of Wintermoon's words. Shawk knew that many harbored the same question, though no one had voiced them in public out of respect for Shawk's efforts. For the humans' part, they knew that Shawk's people weren't the clans of the West that raided the Draconic Kingdom, but they were still strangers in a strange land who had fully committed themselves to the rise of Osalopakan for unknown reasons. As a master of the Merchant Guild, Master Lead said, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Quite frankly, I appreciate the fact that Inksock and the rest of Osalopakan have taken my advice to heart since our arrival. On top of that, what I'm doing here helps the Draconic Kingdom. The clans of Rolengork may have invaded my home, but now they're fighting the undead sweeping across the country. If Rolengork collapses, so will the armies sent to keep the undead from destroying all life in the Draconic Kingdom. The gods willing, both of our homes will survive and what we've built here will serve as a foundation for peace between our peoples."
"I wonder what the theocracy would say about that," Wintermoon said.
"Isn't the Draconic Kingdom their tributary?"
"Yeah, and a fat lot of good that did us," the Guildmaster replied.
"They never came in our time of greatest need.
They're the ones who have failed to fulfill their obligations, so I say it's time for new allies.
If the Draconic Kingdom enters into an amicable relationship with Rolengork, we won't need the theocracy's protection anyway. The tribute that we pay the theocracy will be put to better use building new inroads that will actually get us somewhere." Despite the Guildmaster's passionate response, Wintermoon still seemed unconvinced. She knew much more about the world than Shawk did, so it would be prudent to ask her about it in private when she had the chance. Long-term objectives aside, Elder Potley said, "I agree that the method that Master Leeds described is suited for our purposes. Osalopakan's resources are limited and our people are ill-prepared for the more conventional sort of expansion. At the same time, haste is required. We must strike a balance between the immediate survival of our clan and the survival of the people in the region." The other elders nodded along with the mystic's words. From Shawk's discussion with the Guildmaster, however, she knew that it wouldn't be enough for him. Maybe it was part of the timeless conflict that he had previously described. "Let's set up the first of these trading posts and see how things go," Shawk said. "What do you have in mind, Master Leeds?" "To save time and energy," the Guildmaster replied, "our trading posts should have access to navigable waterways whenever possible. The first set should go upriver." "Upriver? As in the river behind the dam?" "That's right. We can carry one of our boats up to the lake. That should be more than enough cargo capacity for now. My thought was to open the first market on the border of Osalopakan's territory. That way, it can serve as both a market and a guard post. After that, we can extend our economic influence throughout the northernmost valley of the city." No one seemed to have any issues with that, so they spent the rest of the night figuring out who and what needed to be delivered to the new trading post. The next morning, they brought together enough beastmen to bring one of their 50-meter-long barges past the dam to the lake above. It didn't take much effort, as the flooding allowed them to sail the ship further up the northern shore before carrying it the rest of the way. "Make sure you put the paddle wheels back on properly," Shawk called out. "Anything we break is going to be hard to fix without a shipyard." Speaking of which, Master Leeds asked, "Have you put any thought into the proposal for the new shipyard?" Not any more than the idea that it'd be a good idea," Shawk replied. "I don't even know what goes into building a shipyard. You can leave that part to our artisans. All we need is your approval and a bit of land." According to Elder Potley, the shoreline recedes quite a bit in the dry season, but the main body of the lake is consistent. Since the flooding of the lake is shallow, we can build a simple, raised dry dock that can be used year-round. "What about the lock thing that you mentioned?" "That can wait until the flooding recedes," the Guildmaster said. "As you can see, we can carry new ships down if necessary." "I'll have to speak with Elder Potley and the other mystics about the location," Shawk said. "For now, let's focus on what we're doing in the city." Once the ship's paddle wheels were reinstalled, they boarded the ship and crossed the lake to the opposite shore near the clanhold, where tents, provisions, tools, and parts of furniture were waiting to be loaded. With them would come a dozen beastmen merchants, 20 hunters, 10 warriors, and the people required to support them. As with their previous trip, no humans would be present. "I hope things will go smoothly with this new trading post," Shawk said. "Aside from the hunters, all of these people are barely trained." I can't speak for the warriors, Master Leeds said, but I could send along some human staff if you'd like.
No, it's too dangerous.
Especially nowadays. People are hungry and they've never seen humans before. Everything feels like it's constantly on the verge of flying apart as it is. People getting eaten is not something I want to deal with right now. Or ever.
That's what a race against time feels like, I guess, the Guildmaster said. The people of the Draconic Kingdom are used to it.
Are you sure you don't hold anything against us? Shawk asked.
You said what you did yesterday evening, but...
Master Leeds rose from his bench as they closed with the shore. A group of laborers came forward to secure the ship with ropes tied to some nearby trees. It's no use railing against the way that the world works. Besides, I'm sure that our queen would want this. She's sent several delegations to entreat the clans for peace and trade, but I think we're the first to stay uneaten. Not that we're an official delegation. Shawk's whiskers twitched at the way that the Guildmaster spoke. It contained emotions that she couldn't put a claw on.
Master Leeds, she said.
This might be a strange question, but where do your loyalties lie? The Guildmaster's answer was immediate.
With Queen Auriculus, of course, he smiled.